Ready? Give it a couple more minutes. Oscar, how's that, buddy?
What yourself?
Not much. Not much. All right, let's see, where can I go?
What have you been up to?
Man, just staying busy.
That's really good. You're really good.
How many listings you take this month?
0. Yeah.
You report that to your coach?
No.
Okay,
Friday. Yeah.
why didn't you report?
I don't know. It feels better to report on the good stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you think there's a benefit to reporting zeros?
Yes.
Okay, what's the benefit to reporting zeros?
Keeps you not lying to yourself.
Okay, well, I mean, you're not lying to yourself by just not reporting, but like, what do you think is gonna happen after you report zeros?
He's gonna talk to me.
Consistently?
To me, it makes me want to do more.
Yeah, there you go,
Damn.
right?
I'm doing shitty. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can figure out while we're waiting how to change my screen share. So, because eventually we're gonna get into some actual market numbers.
How long does this last?
It lasts an hour.
Okay. Okay. I was just wondering, because I saw the email this morning, so I'm like, I'm gonna head up there right now.
It lasts an hour. Yeah.
You should try to.
To what?
The-
So what were we supposed to?
Yeah, that's what Haley just said.
Oh, no.
She
I don't know. I
said
saw Shanna's email, so I'm like, okay.
we're supposed to get something with it.
No, I did not sign up.
Are we the only ones here? Like two gonna be here?
I hope not. More people show
There it was, man.
How's your open house?
up. It was good. 4 families came through. They already had houses. They're just bored.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, some of them lived in Republic. They just bought a house in Republic. They're Cronkite, so like
Oh.
they're just waiting for it to get built. So they're just looking at that one to see.
Mhm.
Somebody came in. I guess the neighbor that just bought a house died that
Oh.
morning.
Mm.
That morning of the open house. So
Oh my
like,
gosh.
yeah, like we used to be friends. We used to hang out in Branson all the time. We had houses next to each other.
Did you get his address?
Well, no.
Dang it. Not his, but the one that passed.
Well, his wife is still.
Oh.
They just bought it like 2 months ago.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
That's sad. What did he die from?
How's it going? How are you? Good, all right, we are at 11. I have you guys move on up until we get started. So let's see, Zoom. Make sure I'm actually seeing everything that's going on. Controls. We got a couple people on Zoom. All right. Bear with me, I'm gonna get everything situated here and then we'll get going. Just learning how to work all of this stuff all at once, which is fun. Sweet. All right, had someone ask if my class today was gonna be on Zoom. All right, so how you guys doing today? Man, that was like zero energy. We're talking about mindset today. And I gotta say, it looks like we have a lot of work to do, gentlemen, out of the 3 of you that are here. So we might need a little more energy than that. So, but you know what? Let's do the best with what we can. All right, let me get my guide pulled up and we'll get going. PDFs, shift series, here we go. So I have 45 pages of content to go through. This is typically a 2-hour class. They recommend 2.5 to 3. We have 58 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna get as much as I can in the time that I can. But what I'm gonna need from you guys is I need a high level of participation
Okay.
for that 58 minutes. Can you guys commit to having a high level of participation? Because the longer I have to wait to get responses, you know, this is an interactive class, right? The harder it's gonna be for us to actually get some stuff done. All right, you guys good with that?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. All right, cool. I see some people online. Sweet. Kira's online, Lindy, awesome. Welcome. Welcome to Zoom world. I'm gonna have the chat pulled up. You guys, you can feel free to chat, but you can also just jump in and chat with your mic if you guys want to. I'll allow you guys to mute yourself. So I got some handouts for you guys because today is all talking about mindset, and that starts with really understanding whether or not we're in a shift in market or not. So there's a couple more. You guys can pass those down right here. Thank you. So today is the first strategy in the series. We've got six total classes. This afternoon, Mike Brown is going to be talking about the next tactic. And so right now we're on strategy 1. So if you guys have ever read this book, which show of hands, who has read this book? Halfway?
Yeah.
Cool. So since Oscar has read this book halfway, it means that he's probably maybe come across half of the strategies, which there's 12. So there's 12 strategies in this book. And I will tell you guys, you know, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Brian Stone, right? I'm an agent here. I got in the market in 2017. I can tell you that since I've been in the market, I've been on teams. I've been a real estate coach for our market center, or our productivity coach. I've run teams. I've been a buyer's agent. I've had my hand in over 250 transactions in that time. And I can tell you that I've read all the Keller Inc. books. And this is the one that is the most tactical and practical. Right. So if you guys have not spent time actually reading Shift, you should. In my opinion, it's actually I won't say it's a more important book, but it's probably one that's easier to put into action than even the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the big red book that we talk about all the time, right? That shows our models, our systems. It talks about mindset. But this, I mean, as you can see, I've got highlighted fields in here. I've read through this more than any other book. It has all kinds of good stuff in here. I mean, you know, I mean, this right here, I'm just going to pull out one quote right here. Most buyers are letting others do too much of their thinking for them. Anybody relate to that? Here's another one pulled out. Let's see here. All of this buyer ability, readiness, willingness. Are they worth investing your time, money, and effort when all those resources are already stretched? Yes or no? Your focus has to be on the motivated, right? So, we talk a lot about getting to the table in lead generation. Shift really focuses on getting to the right table, right? Because not every buyer will actually turn into a transaction. So it's really, really important for you to follow these strategies and dig into the book. The first thing though, before all of it, you have to get real, you have to get right with your mindset, and you have to start taking action, which is the focus for today's strategy. So later on, we're going to be going in against, again, expense management, which is huge, leverage, lead generation, lead conversion and follow-up, and then expectations for buyers and sellers. So all of these strategies are great. But this is really about how to thrive in a shift. You notice that this says thrive and not survive, right? And we're going to get into some numbers. I'm going to maybe bust up some myths that you guys might have on the market, on the availability of deals in this market, on the number of agents that are actually in production in this market. We're going to talk about all that stuff. I've done a lot of my research, love digging into the numbers. And I think numbers can help you adjust the way you think. Because if you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at change. That's actually a whole law. So let's get into the temperature test. So I want to hear from you guys. And this, if you're online, you guys can chat out. What's the temperature right now? What's happening in our market in Springfield, Missouri right now? What are you guys feeling? Are you experiencing a shift? are you seeing signs that would indicate it? How is it making you feel? I want to hear from you
I'm
guys.
still
Yeah.
experiencing like a pretty active market though.
You're experiencing an active market. Okay, so what do you mean by an active market? What's your name again?
Like,
Sorry.
Dustin.
Dustin. Okay, thank you,
Like,
Dustin.
I'm working with some buyers now and there's still multiple offers. I even did an open house yesterday and it's like tons of people are still out looking. Like, I'm still experiencing an active market. I don't know what other people are experiencing, but that's just kind of how I am right
Okay.
now.
So it feels active. All right. So let's hear from somebody else, either online or one of you two gentlemen. Oscar, what you got?
So I get both sides, I guess. I get people saying like, oh, the rates are horrible, we're gonna wait. Then I get people that just, man, we tried putting an offer on that house and it sold instantly, so
So you're hearing both sides?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So what we're talking about right now is what's the market temperature test? So, what are you experiencing? Are you feeling a shift? Do you feel like, things are changing? So what are you feeling right now?
I'm here.
You're here. Okay, you're feeling like you're here. Okay. I won't let you off that easy the whole time, but we'll let you off since you just got in. So we got a few people online, so I want to hear, and I don't know if I can view the chat. It is not letting me see the chat, you guys, so. What are you guys online seeing? Here's the chat.
Hey, Brian, this is Dayton. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Dayton. What are
We're
you
still-
feeling?
Yeah, we're still seeing a pretty active market. We made an offer last week for some buyers at 10 grand over on a $240,000 house. We offered 250 and did not get it. And then open house yesterday, we had steady traffic all day.
So, yeah, so it still feels active. So I'm getting a lot of, hey, we're still feeling the activity, right?
Correct.
Awesome. I'm experiencing that too. I think we're gonna dig into that to know really what is the temperature and what signs should we be looking for? Because it is different based on who you talk to and what market we're in, right? And honestly, it feels a little different than it should. I mean, I'll hold my thoughts. We'll get into it. We have a lot of slides to cover. So, let's have somebody read this quote. So, you guys, somebody here in the room, shout it out.
In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity, by Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein, right? In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. What does that mean to you guys?
be more optimistic. There's always, I don't know, to me, that's, don't focus on the negative because there's always something positive.
So you would think that that's the case, and I'm glad you brought that up, Oscar, because we're going to talk about the three kinds of people in a shift in relationship to being optimistic or pessimistic. So it's not necessarily about being optimistic. There's actually an old fable, and this is an old fantasy book. I cannot quote it, but I'm a huge nerd, so I'll tell you the shortened version. So there's a fisherman that casts his nets every day, and he cast 50 plus nets every single day. He would only catch fish in a couple of those nets. He would always bring it back, and it'd be in abundance to feed his family, to feed his village, to provide from them. And he truly believed that he was the luckiest guy in the world. But when we actually observe those behaviors, what was he doing? He didn't catch fish on every net, right? He still had to go out there and work, get into action. He had to have his mindset right. Hey, I'm a lucky guy. We walked in, and that energized him. So the quote from that that I want you guys to write down is, trust your luck, but always cast your nets. Trust your luck, but always cast your net. Yes, in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity, but only for those that are willing to cast a wide net, right? So the problem with that lies, and we're going to dig into this a little bit later on too. There's a problem with too much dilution, right? If you put in diluted effort, you get diluted results. We talked about that on the Elevate call this morning with my MAPS coach, who's hosting a call for our region. You said you put in diluted effort, you get diluted results. Eric Keller actually says if you put in diluted effort, you actually get delusional, right? Because you still have to focus where your activities are going, but you have to cast your nets, right? It's not about casting every single one of them. So you've got to, first of all, adopt a growth-minded mindset based on the reality of the market. So you have to know the data. You have to start with what the data actually is. You got to embrace that opportunity. Yes, it feels busy, but we're going to get some numbers that are still showing that there's some change in the way that we do business. And you have to get clarity about the numbers and actually set priorities on how to thrive. So when we actually get into some of these slides, I've got some good notes in here, but shift happens, right? Put with James Shaw, at Family Reunion, he talked about a lot of people shoulding, right? So we tend to should all over ourselves. You guys know what I mean by that? Oh, I should do more open houses. I should make more phone calls. I should be doing online leads. I should be running Facebook. You know, hey, I saw Brian did a big open house. I should be doing that. I saw Oscar actually is working with FISBOs. That must be working. I should do that. So put straight from the words of James Shaw, you need to stop shooting all over yourselves and get your shift together, because it has to be a focused plan, right? You actually have to focus on the activity that you're doing. When we look at the different indicators that actually cause a shifted market, some of those we're seeing and some of them we're not. But I've got all the data in front of you guys. You guys have the stats right here, and we're actually going to dig into them together too, that actually show that, because regardless of whether or not there's an inventory shift, because we do have low inventory, we're still in a position where behavior has changed. Would you guys agree with that or no? Absolutely right. So the behavior is different. The behavior not only of agents, but the behavior of buyers and sellers. Would you guys agree with that as well? So put another way, a shift isn't just a shift in the market. It's also a shift in the way that we do business, right? So you don't get to decide what the market will do, but you definitely get to decide what you will do. This is from Shift, page 272. Write that page number down, read it. This should be a workbook, not a leisure book, right? I'm all about audiobooks, but if you're listening to this only on Audible, you're doing yourself a disservice. I love Audible, but you need to be in this book, treating it like a textbook with assignments where you're highlighting and actually putting things into action, right? So let's talk about supply and demand. So the first thing that you guys have, and for those of you online, you don't have this, but you can actually pull this from your broker metrics. What I'm actually looking at is the market dynamics, which is month supply of inventory from March 22, meaning March in 2022 through March of 2023, which is the most recent data we have. So if you guys look at this, pull it up, it'll make sense as we're talking. So we have a seller's market, a balanced market, a buyer's market that all have to do with our month supply of inventory, because in real estate, we measure inventory in time, right? So can someone give me a real brief explanation of what a month supply of inventory actually means? I know Oscar should know this because you've heard me say this.
Isn't it like if houses stop going on the market, that's how much time there is before we really run out of houses, right?
Exactly. So it basically, if there were no more listings as of today, how long would it take for us to exhaust the current supply? Right? So that's months of supply in a nutshell, right? Which is our primary metric that we look at. It's not the only metric. As you guys can see, I printed off a lot more than that. I love digging into some other stuff. As we have time after the hour, I could dig in even deeper if you guys want to stick around. But put in its most basic form, a seller's market is anything less than 5 months of inventory, right? So where are we at right now? If we actually look at the market dynamics, month supply, as of March of 2023, where are we at right now?
Seller's market,
Seller's market, yeah. And what's our months of supply?
is that months or days? Or like
2.5 or so.
Months. So take a look down. If you guys are looking at, it has March 2023 on the first page, 1.0. So we have 1 month supply. If you look there right next to the left of it, it says this same time last year, we had 0.6. So we were measuring in weeks a year ago, right? If you actually flip the page over and look at the back side, you guys can see a breakdown, a numerical breakdown of the last 12 months. That MSI on the left is actually month supply of inventory. That's our local market. And it even shows you the NAR MSI. In other words, National Association of Realtors month supply of inventory. So you guys are now educated not only on what's happening local, but you can also see the national picture, right? And how we compare. So, in January, nationally, we were up to almost 2.5 months supply. But here locally, we were still at 1.5. Right? So again, it still feels active, right? So we may be going through a shift nationally, but it doesn't mean that it feels the same for all of us everywhere, right? Here's the thing though, in order to sell houses, we have to have houses to sell, yes? Right, so less inventory can mean less transactions. So I want you guys to keep that in mind too. We're definitely, yes, in a seller's market. So we haven't shifted in terms of rising inventory. Per se, we're not above the 5-month threshold, but are we double where we were last year? Absolutely, right? So we're still shifting. And if you look at the graph, I don't know if you guys can see the zoomed up. I mean, this is the trend line. If you look at the last year, it took a slow dip and then it's just a steady rise all the way through to January of this year. And now we're just starting to see a drop off and level off. So, I mean, if that's not a rise in inventory, I don't know what it is, right? So that's definitely part of it. And I'm not going to get into this. So basically we have a sales cycle and income cycle because this doesn't necessarily apply to us exactly, but I am going to show you guys a graph if it'll let me share it. I don't know if it'll let me change what I share here. I will show you, we'll pull that up later. I will tell you our showing activity is at an increase, right? So what causes an economic shift, right? So we talked about a real estate shift. That's buyer's market versus seller's market, right? And moving from one to the other. What causes an economic shift? And we have a few examples, right? This is recent, right? We experienced one as recently as a couple of years ago in 2020 during COVID-19, right? What are the indicators there? You guys shout them out. Online too, you guys can shout out.
Is it something that affects usually nationwide?
Okay, it's something that affects nationwide, okay?
That's about as far as I got.
As far as you got?
Yeah.
All right. So, we got a room full of economists. Is what I'm hearing. Okay, so has anybody ever heard Garrett Keller talk about being the economist of choice? You guys heard that? Okay, so to be a fiduciary, to be an agent, you should also be the economist of choice, not just the agent of choice, right? Means we need to really have a good understanding of what causes these economic shifts. If you guys aren't staying in tune with that, it's a really good way to stay on top of it because you need to come from the perspective of handling objections. In the same way when you're calling a for sale by owner and expired, or you're talking with a reluctant buyer or seller and you're handling whatever objections they have, you need to be aware of the objections you're going to get based on the national economy, because the reality is with social media, with news outlets and some biased reporting, regardless of which side of that reporting you agree with, you're going to have some misinformation out there. Would you guys agree with that? Okay, so it's going to be your job to educate your clients. So you have to be prepared for that. So we've got all of these major dates are when shifts happen. We saw shifts most recently in 2020, which happened with the economic shutdown. We had 2 consecutive quarters where GDP was in negative, which by definition is a recession, right? So we had a mini recession. It rebounded real quick. But in 2006, what happened? Might remember that?
It was bad, wasn't it?
It was bad, right? So yeah, most of you guys weren't around for that. So 2006 is when we started seeing subprime lending. We had an inventory boom and the real estate market crashed. It wasn't a huge economic shift, but that one in particular was actually caused by the real estate industry and the lending industry, because we had people that were in negative equity positions because they were inflated on their values and we were overbuilt. So when it actually came down, the demand was way less than the actual supply. So it wasn't like it is now, but it doesn't mean we're not in a shift now. So with those economic shifts, like a global pandemic, for example, It's inevitable, right? It's not gonna be predictable. It can actually happen really, really fast, and it can actually impact every aspect of our life. Anybody showing houses, or did anybody sell houses during 2021, in 2021, during the pandemic? Justin, you did? Okay,
No, my bad.
you didn't? Okay.
I got my license like at the very end.
At the very end of that? Okay,
Yeah.
anybody online sell houses at that time? What was different? All right, see a couple people online. So did we change the way we did showings? Even though you guys weren't there, I mean, you can probably imagine, right? Because we weren't just busting through having open houses with a global pandemic and having everybody walk through the door, right? Coughing on each other, all that stuff, right? So that definitely wasn't a thing, okay? So we absolutely had to change, we had to fundamentally change the way we did business. And were houses still sold in that time? Absolutely. In fact, quite a few, if we actually look at the data here, quite a few houses sold in that time. I had my best year ever in 2020, and then I had my next best year ever in 2021. So every year was better than the year before, even during the pandemic. But I had to fundamentally change the way I did business, right? So it's not necessarily about predicting the future. It's about understanding that you have to have your mindset in the right place. Because when the market shifts, there's only one thing to do. You have to shift with it. In truth, there are two shifts that you must make, a mental shift and an action shift. Let's talk about a different industry. So were there industries that changed in 2020 other than real estate? What can you guys think of that's probably the biggest shift in terms of the way that people interacted with any particular industry during those 2 years?
Restaurants.
Restaurants? Restaurant, oh, no, I love that. Okay, so how did restaurants have to change?
Well, like people wasn't going in because of COVID. They had to like do takeouts, and
A lot of takeout?
some people were getting laid off.
Layoffs were happening, okay, yeah. And there were layoffs, there was also people hiring, during the shift that had big booms, because it was companies that were shifting with it. We saw restaurants close, we saw restaurants open. We actually saw some delivery-only restaurants open that are still around today that don't even have a storefront. Do you guys know that? Right here in Springfield, Missouri, there's one that's called Just Wings. They literally just sell wings. And they use other people's kitchens, like Chili's or things like that. But they are a restaurant that you can order only through delivery services like DoorDash or Grubhub. And it's a restaurant business where they don't have the brick and mortar. They don't even have the kitchen or the cooks. And somehow they found a way to build a business without any of those things that traditionally everyone would think you'd be crazy to not have to run a restaurant, right? So is that a shifting with the market? 100%, right? Grubhub wasn't a thing. DoorDash wasn't a thing 3 years ago, really. I mean, there was a couple. There wasn't any drivers. I mean, not around here, maybe in the big cities. So they fundamentally changed the way they did business because they saw demand and they met it. We did online showings. We did sight unseen by purchases. We did all different kinds of things with the real estate industry as well. And honestly, by the way, some of those are still in practice because they're more efficient. If I can do a virtual consultation with a buyer that is trying to purchase somewhere between here and Joplin, doesn't that make more sense than me having them drive to Springfield so that I can sit face to face? And they're ready for that, right? So, so what are you guys taking so far? We just talked about the market dynamics, where we're at, whether or not it's a shifting market or not.
Change mentally, but also your actions.
Got to change your actions. That's right. So let me see how well this shows. Okay, good. That shows up pretty well. Of course, I don't have an eraser. So are you guys okay if I go down a slight rabbit hole? This is in your notes, but for the benefit of those people online, I want to cover some of this stuff. I want to actually talk about sales absorption, and I want to talk about some misconceptions that people have. Anybody want to guess the number of sides that have been sold since 2023? So January to now in our local market, so through the end of March, how many sides on our MLS? A side is either a buy side or a sell side. So that means how many commission checks have been cashed in the first quarter of 2023. Might want to just venture out a guess?
1,500.
1,500. Okay, Oscar says 1,500. Do I hear 16? Do I hear 17? Start a bidding war. She's looking, she's like, oh, I'm gonna find it. So here's the reality. We've had so far 4,257 sides in Q1 of 2023. So, Oscar, what's your goal for this year?
I have, to be honest, it's.
Is it, listen, you don't even have to tell me. Is that number less than 4,257?
Yes.
Absolutely. You could have already met your goal in the first quarter of the year. Right?
Yes.
So get it out of your head that opportunity isn't out there, first of all, right? You guys with this so far? This is just the last 3 months. If we look at the last 12 months, it's 18,962. What's your goal?
I really don't.
Like 6 figures? You need to sell what? Like 15 houses?
I just wanna be consistent.
Yeah, seriously, like, so I don't, it's like a pet peeve of mine when I hear people complain about, oh, there's just not enough business out there. Because I'm here to tell you, and the numbers will tell you too, that is complete and utter BS. And I know what BS is, it's my initials. Okay, Brian Stowe, BS, yeah, I know what it looks like, all right? So, that's the number of sites. Any guesses on the number of volume that those sites, the sales volume that those sites produce? Anybody want to venture to take a guess? Oh, let's see, a little quick math, average sales price by
Let's just say 80 million.
80 million?
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna love this one. All right, there's a 1.
Oh. Million.
Yeah, trillion, no, billion. So what is the?
How much is that?
Billion 16.
That's billion with a B, my friends. That is a billion with a B. 1 billion. In the last 12 months, we did over 5 billion. Our market center has done, it did last year and the year before, over 1 billion with a B in volume, just in our office. Just in this building that you're sitting in, right? And this is just, again, that billion is just the first quarter. Somebody multiply that by 3% for me.
I have my phone.
This will make you want to throw up in your mouth. So times 3%, which is the average commission, right? Where are we at?
What was that?
That's the number.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
You won't let me do a billion.
Okay, well,
That was
so
weird.
since it doesn't let you do it, I'll do it for you. Because I already wrote it down. It is more fun to see you guys go, what? That's not right. And it is. So. Just for perspective, the GCI or gross commission income that has been earned in the first quarter of 2023 in this terrible market that we're in, right? There has been 32,095,933.41. And make sure that you highlight the 41. That's important. It's like, you know, like what, 1/5 of a Starbucks? No, that's like 1/10 of a Starbucks drink, right? Yeah, inflation. So 32 million in GCI. Now, let's put this into perspective based on the number of agents. Anybody want to take a guess at how many agents are on our local board? 430? 430? Not a bad guess.
Wait, on the board, like.
On the board.
On the board.
Yeah, licensed agents, not here. Because this is all of our numbers. This isn't just KW numbers, right? How many agents are on the board?
400.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Roughly 2,600. 2,600 agents.
I heard those numbers are dropping.
Yeah, and that's okay. We're okay with that. It's not for everybody, right? Let's put that into perspective with agents that have actually had enough sales to be on the report that I put in your packet, which means 4 sales or more. So if you sold 4 houses or more in the first quarter, or really in the past 12 months, because it would have showed up in the last 12 months if you had sold any more than 4. That's only 512. We can cut that down. So Now let's do some more math, okay? What's the opportunity for those 512 agents that have been selling those houses? For each of them? You wanna do the math?
Yeah.
Like 60,000?
Yeah, roughly. So, I mean, what's what's everybody's goal in general? Use your baseline goal is 100,000, right? Everybody wants to make six figures. So that means in the first quarter, you need to make 25 grand, right? So if we divided that number by 25 grand, do you think there's room for you guys to fit in that number? Absolutely. Absolutely. 1,200 agents, actually, if you do the math, have the opportunity to make six figures this year. And that's assuming we don't sell any more houses than we did in the first quarter, which, by the way, we will, because we're seeing the activity go up. We're seeing the sales go up. We're seeing interest rates actually level a little bit. We just saw them go down just a hair, right? So the activity's there. So how about those numbers? That change your perspective on anything? Anybody have any aha? Do your goals fit within these? Yeah, you'd say so? Oscar's like, no, I got big plans. Okay, so we're talking about getting real. You have to get real with the actual opportunity that's in the market that you guys are sitting in today. It's there. It's absolutely there. Okay. Now, I said there's opportunity for 1,200 agents to make 6 grand. Are there agents that are going to make more than 6 grand? 100%, yeah. And are they going to take a large chunk of that market share? Yeah, they will if you don't do something about it, right? Or even if you do, they're going to take it, right? So you guys have to be thinking about, okay, what's my mindset shift? What do I need to be thinking about? How do I identify? Do I identify as a $100,000 producer? Do I identify as a 6-figure a year earner, right? Because if you're going to identify yourself for what you want to be, dress for the job you want, not the job you have, you need to start asking yourself the questions that a $100,000 producer would ask themselves. So what are some of those questions?
Efficient, how to be more efficient.
How do you be more efficient, right? Because my time is valuable, right? So if I work 40 hours a week, that's take a couple of vacations off, that's 2,000 hours a year. So what's 100,000 divided by 2,000? So let me do the math.
Okay, let's see.
A lot of math involved today.
50?
50?
Yeah.
50. So $50 per hour. So if I'm identifying as a $100,000 producer, any activity that would not yield me $50 an hour or that would cost me $50 an hour, should I be doing that activity? Remember, when you diversify, when you dilute your efforts, you get diluted results, right? Should you be door dashing? If you have the mindset of a 6-figure earner, no, right? Because you should be doing the activities that'll actually net you that amount, right? Which lead generation is that. We're going to talk about that in a later session. So start thinking like the earner that you intend to be. So you start asking yourselves the questions that those people ask themselves every day, right? You've got to get your mind right. So do you guys believe, after all that number, do you guys believe that you can thrive in this market? And I want an honest answer. If you guys say no, if you have reservations, if you're concerned, I want to hear it. I want to talk about it because I want to make sure everybody that's here today is leaving with the right mindset that they actually need to do the actions that they know they need to take. So do you guys believe that you can thrive in this market?
Yes.
Yes? Yes.
So,
Yes, think so? Okay. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah? I got one of these. What does thriving look like? What was your name?
Cassandra.
Cassandra? Hi, Cassandra. What does thriving look like for you? And why? Because you kind of had a non-committal yes. I'm gonna pick on you.
Being consistent enough.
Being consistent enough, okay. So, So what do you mean by consistent enough? What do you think that looks like? Consistent in what?
Everything.
Everything? Okay.
Everything.
Can you do everything and be consistent at it all at once? Or is that delusion?
Well, I'm pretty new in this,
You know,
but
okay,
my big thing is efficiency.
okay.
So kind of goes along with the consistency.
So efficiency and consistency, okay. So you're asking the right questions.
I haven't asked any questions.
You are, because you're talking about efficiency and consistency. That's a question,
So.
right? So what you need to put some thought into is what are the answers to those questions for you and what it looks like for you to thrive in this market, right? What does thriving actually look like? And what commitment do you need to make? And listen, I'm the worst
I
about
think I'd
willpower.
have to be more, I don't know, social.
More social? More. Okay. So the problem with more is it's a moving standard. Okay. So again, you want to challenge your thought on that. Do you feel like six-figure earners just wake up every morning with no plan and they say, today I'm going to do more?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Sometimes.
More than what?
Well, more than I currently do,
Okay.
which is usually go to work, come home, take care of 5 kids. Sometimes I have that ambition to do more.
Okay. So if your goal is always to seek more, it's a goal that's really easy to quantify because you haven't, which means you don't lose anything if you don't get it. And it also means that you'll never get it because more is a moving target,
Yep.
right? So I'm going to quantify that for you. If you add one qualified person to your real estate pipeline every day, 5 days a week, meaning one person, whatever the activities to get that person is up to you based on your skill set and your goal, right, and your time. If you add that one person that's raised their hand and said, hey, I want to buy or sell within the next 12 months, and you do that for every day, 5 days a week for the next year, that result in the number of people is roughly 36 transactions in the next 12 months. 36 transactions, which as we know, is very possible based on the number of transactions or sides that are already happening in our market today. Yes? Okay. So again, asking the right questions, you have to also get the right answer. And you have to give yourself a little grace. I am the what self-proclaimed lazy person, right? I really am. I'm like a child. If I'm not having fun, I don't want to play. Like seriously, like I have to really, if I'm not having fun doing whatever it is I'm doing, I won't do it. And so the second something looks like work, I start to go, I don't like that, right? So you're talking to someone who is experiencing what you're experiencing. And the first thing you guys need to realize is there's no different secret sauce or quality that sets you guys apart from anyone else in the market that's doing more transactions than you. Pick a person, guess what? They're no more special than you are. The only difference is they've asked the right questions and they've given themselves the answer so that they can find the consistency that they need. And most of it comes down to mindset. So 45 minutes a day, every day, I spend meditating on this book. It's called The Daily Stoic. 366 meditations on wisdom, perseverance, and the art of living. Has stuff in here from Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, the old Stoics, Greek philosophers of the past. I can flip to any day of the week and I can actually have it. So today is what day? April 7th, right? Or 17th, excuse me. Man, I went back in time. So I'll give you guys an example, 17th. No harm, no foul. This is from Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor at the height of the Roman Empire. So pretty substantial dude, right? He said, do away with the opinion, I am harmed, and the harm is cast away too.
Do away with being harmed and harm disappears. A word can have multiple meanings. The usage can be harsh or another might be completely innocent. Same word can mean a cruel slur or a pile of sticks. In the same way, something said sarcastically differs drastically from something that was pointed out in mean. The interpretation of a remark in a word is an immense amount of power. It's the difference between a laugh and hurt feelings, the difference between a fight breaking out in two people or them connecting. This is why it's so important to control the biases and lenses we bring to our interactions. When you hear or see something, which interpretation do you jump to? Which is your default interpretation of someone else's intentions? If being upset or hurt is something you'd like to experience less often, then make sure your interpretations of others' words make that possible. Choose the right inference from someone's actions or from external events, and it's a lot more likely that you'll have the right response. Does that connect with anybody? That's just one reading of many, right? And there's other books that you can read too. For example, you could read 10 or 20 pages of Shift.
Somebody put in the chat, what was the name of the book?
It's called The Daily Stoic. Thank you for catching that. The Daily Stoic, it's a fantastic book. If you guys want to borrow it, peek at it, look at it, you can check it out. They also have a podcast. They also have a free email list. You can just subscribe to The Daily Stoic on thedailystoic.com. It's Ryan Holiday. He does a great job of kind of digesting these philosophical concepts and actually putting them in a way that actually makes sense. One of my favorite quotes is actually a Seneca quote from a reading. I have it written on my whiteboard upstairs. And it's this: a man cannot learn what he already thinks he knows. Ooh, right? Do you think that hit me at the right time when I went into this market? You think I might have had some ego issues going to this market? Well, I know how to sell real estate. I know how to do this, right? Does that leave me open to thriving in a shift where the way that I do business has to fundamentally change? No, right? I have to forget the thought that I already know everything, because that means I'm limiting myself to only one or two ways of doing things, right? Put it another way, I have to have a beginner's mind. And that's just one concept out of one reading and one meditation that I did one morning. And I do this 7 days a week. So you talk about consistency. The only thing you should be working on consistency on right now is mindset, because everything else follows, right? That's why this is the first session of Shift. You have to get your head right. You have to get it right. And the reason why I like Stoicism in terms of its relationship to business, because it's not just about thought. It's about thought turned into action. These are influential historical figures that had huge responsibilities. And it's them capturing their thoughts on how they kept their ego out and they kept themselves in action and stay, you know, in the middle, right? So Stoic thought, you guys have heard all the time, right? Control what you can control, right? That's Stoicism. That's a Stoic thought. Focus on what you can change and don't worry about changing what you can't, right? All of those things are Stoic thought. For those of you that are people of faith, choose whatever faith reading you have. That can get your mindset in the right place, right? Whether it's a particular faith you follow and you want to read that religious text, great, right? It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing as long as you're doing it consistently. For me, it's reading this book, it's journaling, and it is doing positive affirmations. As cheesy as that sounds, I actually need that, right? Because I have to remind myself that I'm capable of the business, that I'm worthy of the business. Because the day that I started believing that I was actually worthy to take listings is when I started taking listings, right? You have to believe it in yourself, because every conversation you have with a client, if you don't truly believe that you're the best client for them, then everything that comes out of your mouth is going to come across as inauthentic. They can smell it on you, right? You have to start with yourself first. So, got on a soapbox there. Sorry, guys. Does that make sense? So you've got to believe that you can thrive, right? Misinformation, as we talked about earlier, is rampant. Reluctance is high. Anxiety is high. Confusion happens. Yes, there's fewer transactions than we saw last year. This is a lot of opportunity, but it is less opportunity than last year. So that's a reality you guys need to be good with. And you need to focus on what you can control, because what you can't control is the market. You can control your outlook and your response to it. And the market doesn't determine your success. It just simply determines your strategy. right? So make sure you guys have the right strategy in place to operate within the market that we're in. Is that making sense? All right, so language matters, right? So even how you talk about the market is huge, because when we talk about the language of inventory is lighter, it's not a reason to panic. It's an abnormal market versus a normal market. It's crash versus correction, it's threat versus opportunity, right? All of these things are the same thing, right? Abnormal market, normal market, that's all relative. The market is always abnormal, and that's normal. It is normal to have a market changes. That cyclical nature of the market has always been here. In terms of crash or correction, the news would have you say it's a crash, because guess what? That gets clicks, likes, views, and makes their sponsors ad revenue. So of course they like the word crash. It's really a correction. This is a market correction from what already should have been happening a long time ago. It's okay. What's up? Threat versus opportunity. So what some perceive as a threat, others perceive as an opportunity. It's the same language, or it's the same entity, but it's different language, right? It matters how you think about it. And this kind of gets into what you were talking about, Oscar, before. So this is shift page 24. There are three types of people. There are those that are unnecessarily pessimistic. Second, there's those who hopefully wish for the best, believe they can't fail, and are unrealistically positive. And third, there's people who respect the fact that they might fail, actively prepare for the worst, and strive for the best, which is resourcefully realistic. You guys need to be resourcefully realistic. And I think that the second one is what we're most prone to at KW in our office. It's really easy to allow yourself to be unrealistically positive. But when you do that, you're actually removing any opportunity for change or growth or a new strategy to actually thrive in the market that we're in. Does that make sense? So be really mindful of these three archetypes, if you will, these three types of people in a shifting market, and identify which of these three you're going to be. Does that resonate with anybody? So this is where it comes up. You're talking about, hey, you just gotta be more positive, right? Is that serving you, Oscar?
Not if I'm being too positive.
I mean, seriously,
Yes.
you know, yeah, you're reporting zeros today, right?
Huh?
You're reporting zeros.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
So does it serve you being unrealistically positive? Oh yeah, something will come when it comes.
No.
Right. So again, trust your luck, but always cast your nets,
Okay.
right? You have to be resourcefully realistic. You have to be casting your nets. You have to change the strategy if the strategy that you're using, excuse me, I'm getting hyped up, that you're using is not working, right? So be really mindful and guarded about being too unrealistically positive. This was me, guys. That's where I fell last year. Q4, I was like, oh, it's fine. Market still feels active. It's business as usual, right? And I had to wake up one day and realize, oh, my pipeline is not where it is in years past. It's not where it needs to be for where my year is supposed to be headed. And at that point, there's a lag, right? Real estate, we operate for 60 to 90 days in the future at best, right? So I woke up one day and realized the last 90 days activities did not serve me, which means I have another 90 days to get back right, which means I'm 6 months behind where I need to be. And it's 100% my fault because I was too unrealistically positive and didn't change my strategy soon enough. And I'm speaking from experience, guys. My year is not where it needs to be. It will end where I want it to end because I am resourcefully realistic moving forward. And I have 3 quarters to catch up, right? Does that make sense? So be really mindful of that. Growth actually comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. So again, next page over, 24, 25, first section of shift. Really read that first chapter we talked about. We talk a lot about clarity. If you don't know what that clarity is, if you're lacking it, this is a coffee. We have over 400 agents in this office. Over 100 of them cap every single year. And there's a good, 50 or 60 that will probably not just make 100,000, but make 200 plus this year. So what does this cost? And what is that worth? To sit down with an agent that does the kind of business that you want to do in the way that you want to do it and offer them a coffee to pick their brain and get some clarity on what you need to be doing, right? Is this worth it? Is that a worthwhile investment? Absolutely. So if you guys are not doing that, you're not connecting with agents, Do it, do it. It doesn't matter what kind of volume you have, everybody is doing it. Dan Holt, Adam Grady, guess what? They grab coffee with people that are at a higher level than them, or that are doing business in a different way than them, so that they can get the new perspective that they need to make sure that they're asking themselves the questions of the people they want to be. And they're taking time to have focused thought around their priorities and their focused action. Everybody is doing this. So if you're not, start doing it right away. Does it make sense? All right, so growth comes from clarity. So we talked about local market trends, where we're going, where we've been. I could dig really, really deep into that, and I could spend the rest of the time just on the market numbers. But I wanna actually start talking about some of the stuff to kind of wrap it up and change your thinking. So if you guys haven't actually looked at the 6 personal perspectives, you should. There's a whole series of classes on this. You can still find them on YouTube. We've taught it in our market center here. They all have to do with different aspects of your mindset. If you really want to take a deep dive in mindset, this is the place to start. So take a look at it. It's all over the place. If you guys need resources, just reach out. It starts from being, accountable, being focused on education and being learning based. And again, it all has to do with your action. So our charging point now at KW International is charge the storm. You guys heard that? Okay, so anybody want to tell me what that means? Everybody's like, nah, I saw the hashtags. I have no idea what it means. Okay, so if you look at the behavior of a herd of buffalo in a storm, most animals and most instinct would say, we need to get away from the storm, or we need to buckle down. We need to go into the barn, hide out, right? Go into the storm shelter, hide out. So but that's not what a herd of buffalo actually does. They group up and together they charge the storm. They run through it because it is the fastest way to get through the storm that's coming, right? They're going to take some damage, but they'll take less damage than they will if they stay stationary, because they're moving through the storm. They're going to get through it faster. Yeah, they've got some momentum behind it, but you've got to charge through this shift. That's what they're talking about. If you want to gain market share during a shift, you can do that. And in fact, it actually benefits you to do it. The largest businesses in any industry are almost always launched, founded, or they really gain momentum during a shifting market, because as the agents decrease, or as opportunity decreases, income decreases, they hold their market share. So the one thing that you should be focusing on is not dollars, it's units. Because if there's fewer units and you hold those units, this is this first graph right here. If the market's going down and you're still selling the same number of units, your market share actually goes up in percentage. Does that make sense? And then as soon as that shift comes out, guess what? Then you shift to holding the market share number. Instead of holding your unit count, then you shift to growing and holding that percentage of market share, and you're already positioned to level up. The biggest teams in our office were individual agents, or individual agents with one admin and one buyer's agent. The last time we had a shift in 2006 to 2008. That's when the large teams at our office built their business. And now they're here today, right? So they're in a position now where market share is going down, right? Or total units are going down. They're going to have to hold, or there's going to be room for new people to take market share in a really big way, right? But you got to actually have the actions. So the activity we've got, I'm going to actually do after we close at 1 o'clock, just so that we can get a good wrap up. So ahas, I want to hear ahas from you guys. What did we learn today? You change perspectives. What actions are we going to put into place? I got nothing.
Trust your luck, but cast your net. Or...
Trust your luck, but always cast your nets.
Yeah.
All right, I like it. What else?
Look at broker metrics.
Look at broker metrics,
Tell
okay?
you what nationwide, what they're talking about, which influences people's thoughts, so. You know, gotta be prepared at all times.
Okay. Can you guys online see my screen? The flex screen? Oh, you guys can see it in here, right? Okay, cool. All right, what else? Another aha. Let's hear it from somebody online. You guys can type in the chat. Let me know what you guys took away from that section.
I feel like mindset sets the tone for everything else.
Okay, good. Mindset's everything. All right, so I want to show you guys how to actually read your local market. There's a really simple tool in Flex that you guys can go to. And it is called the hot sheet. So if you look right here, you can actually see the hot sheet. You can also do this in Flex Mobile. When you run the hot sheet, you can actually look at any cities. Right now I have kind of the outskirts, not necessarily Springfield, but the outskirts, just so I can see what's there. I can also add in Springfield if I wanted to. You can run this for anything you want, and we can run a 24-hour hot sheet. This will tell you what's happening over the past week. So we've got, or the last 24 hours, excuse me. So we have all the new listings that are active. We have things that have closed. We've got things that are changed to pending. So 34 total, right? Really start to look at these numbers because this can tell you a whole lot about market trends and what's happening. You can also go into what's called a market summary, and which I'll show you guys briefly. And this is the data that I wanted to show you guys up. So you can get there here. Under all this stuff is under the dashboard daily functions or under statistics. If we look under statistics, you can look at market trends graphs, by the way, the same stuff that you can see at Broker Metrics, you could run for a subdivision. You could run it for a just Ozark, just Nixa, just Springfield, if you have a target market. You can become the market expert or the economist of choice in your local market if you choose to, so that you can start educating people and having those conversations. You can also look at market summary, and we can customize this on a new location. So let's just look March 2023, and let's look for specifically Greene County. We can do county, we can do city. County of Greene. Residential for sale, and let's see where we're at. So I can see number of listings, listing prices. Look at that. That's interesting. We're starting to see them level down over the past couple of months. Sold to list ratio, which represents, hey, where are things selling versus where they started. So this green line is actually showing the sale to list ratio. The blue is showing sale to original price ratio, which is showing, hey, we're not getting asking price anymore. We're getting 2 to 3% below. Yeah, about 3% under asking. So you think this is valuable conversations to have with people that are thinking about listing their home? Absolutely. You can run it down to their neighborhood and do your own analytics. You can do it in real time while you're sitting in front of them. You can see the days on market, which is another indicator of how fast stuff is moving, right? We saw days on market go down in 2022 for quite some time. But again, this is all the old data. Oh, search. Actually, it hasn't refreshed. So let's look at the new stuff. Oh, here we go. This is the new data. I'm sorry. Oh, here we go. Sold to list ratio. Actually, I told you wrong. Look, yeah, we're still around 97, but we were almost at 96, a little under in February of this year on the sold to list ratio for Greene County. Absorption rate. This is a really good indicator, and we've got the details in your broker metrics here too. Absorption rate has to do with based on how many listings get brought into the market, how many of them go under contract in the same time frame, 30 days. Right. So basically, how quickly is that inventory absorbed? That's really impactful to think about and to be aware of. Again, you've got to understand your local economy. We can even see average list price for Greene County. We can see median average sales price 273, right? Median sales price 235, and we can see the days on market compared to last year. Look at our average cumulative days on market compared to last year. It's up 121%. We went from an average of 20 days on market for Greene County up to 42. Is that a shift?
Absolutely right. So there's definitely activity that's changing. And this actually gives you a breakdown by price down, a breakdown by price range. So I love looking at this because you can see the sold listings and the active listings. If you are getting ready to work with a buyer and you're setting expectations in a buyer's consultation, do you think it's valuable to look at their price range in the area that they're looking in to let them know where the market's at? So let's just say that they're looking in that 180 to 200 price range. Well, there's only 13 on market. The change is up. It's more than last year. And we can actually see it opens up a whole lot more if they get above 200. So if they're between 190 and 200, or if their pre-approval is up to 225, say, but they're wanting to stay below 200, this is something you can use to have a conversation about motivation and where opportunity is, right? They might actually be able to get more of a deal by upping their price range by five grand, right? It's all about knowing your local market and looking at that stuff. So become a student of the market and everything else will happen organically. That all make sense? Awesome. So we are at noon. We're gonna go ahead and stop the recording, stop the share. I will stick around a little bit longer for you guys that are here in person, so you guys can ask any questions you might have. But I want to hear one more takeaway from somebody I haven't already heard of for today. And I want an actionable item. What's something that you're going to put into action starting tomorrow, based on the class today?
Be more knowledgeable on the market. Like you said, I think you at one point said you only started listing whenever you truly believe that you were like capable or ready to. So that's something I can definitely improve on, is stay up to date on the numbers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it. All right, we're going to end the stream. Thank you guys online for jumping in. Make sure you guys come this afternoon for Mike's class on budgeting. It's a great class. And we'll see you guys for the rest of the series.